Jameis Winston took that same offense and had 30 touchdowns and led the league in passing yards. So
He
again,
had 30
the system
picks.
offense. Exactly, which is my point.
What kind of
The
argument
Buccaneers
is that?
just put Jay Cutler on
no.
those Patriots teams, they would win over Tom Brady. Just a cancer in the offense, man.
I don't disagree with that whatsoever.
Welcome back, everybody, to the On The Board podcast. No Morgan today, but we have ourselves a guest. This is Tyler Kading here, up in the top right. Currently attends Mizzou for journalism and sports management. Anything else about yourself you want people to know?
I'm impressed you knew that. I also just thought you were going to introduce me as Morgan. So
You guys have a similar look.
yeah, me and Morgan are the exact same person. I don't see any issue with that whatsoever.
All right. So first up, we've got a little bit of baseball. We can talk a little bit about the divisional series, but right now we're in the midst of both the NLCS and the ALCS. Jack, I know you felt pretty strongly about how the divisional series went down, especially in the NL. You got anything for us?
Well, I'm annoyed that the Braves lost because I don't like Philly at all. Atlanta just couldn't hit. They didn't have the pitching to beat Philly either. And they can't seem to win in Philadelphia in October. So Philly deservedly moved on. But I personally think that the LDS should be a 7-game series because it would make it a lot more competitive. I just think and going to the Dodgers one, they're horrible in October. I mean, we just have to accept it at this point not to pick them in October because they clearly cannot get it done. Clayton Kershaw is the worst pitcher in October of all time, and Arizona just got hot at the right time, and they moved on.
Okay. So, would you say that Atlanta and LA losing in their first series of the playoffs have anything to do with how the team is built, or is it just a choke?
I honestly, it's a joke. I mean, Atlanta was built to win the World Series, and they didn't. The only time they've won the World Series in the past decade is in 2021 when they were underdogs. So, when they're the favorites, can't seem to get it done. And then same thing with LA. They always choke. And I'm completely just going to diss that 2020 season because that was just stupid. That's a fake ring. So besides that, they haven't done anything in the playoffs. They've made the World Series like 3-4 times in the past decade. They haven't won any of them.
Well, I don't think it's fair to say that they choked. Because if you looked at the Diamondback series, they were just outplayed the entire series. Coming into it, the divisional opponents in the playoffs are always going to be more tougher than like some random team because your divisional opponents, they know you better. Especially this year, the Diamondbacks had a lot of success with the Dodgers. But I mean, choking when they got blown out like every game, I don't think that would be fairly accurate to say that. I just think they got outplayed by a better team.
It's tough to say that teams are built for the playoffs and they have absolutely zero pitching. That was the Dodgers and the Braves. Neither of them had any pitching whatsoever. I mean, the Dodgers went into it telling everyone, "Oh, we're not going to have a starting rotation," and the Braves just didn't want to admit it. Also, the Braves are a bunch of babies, and I want to get into that. The entire organization, a bunch of babies.
Yeah,
awful.
I didn't like.
I don't know how
either.
anyone likes that team whatsoever.
I mean, just
every single person involved in that organization, including their media members, are just babies.
It's just specifically the clubhouse stuff with Orlando Arcia is so ridiculous to me.
That was so horrible.
Yeah.
I mean,
trying to blame that for the reason that your team is just pathetic in 4 games is asinine. Travis Darno, Kevin Gossman, who isn't even on the damn team anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous. It's
was he
absolutely
ever on
ridiculous.
The team? I don't think he was even ever.
Yeah, he was on
the
the. No, he was. He was a couple of years ago.
Oh, yeah.
He was on there. I think it might have been 2020. I think he might have won a ring with them. I'm not 100%, or that or was COVID year. But like, just babies across the spectrum. It's annoying. Couldn't have happened to a better organization. Just get laughed out of the building. Hey, but they did win in Cancun yesterday, so.
Especially against a division rival like that has to hurt. But the Phillies, honestly, I think that the Phillies are a team that people severely underrated coming into the playoffs. Because that's a team that made the World Series last year and added one of the best shortstops in the league. So obviously, if they get hot at the right time, then they're gonna they can take anybody down.
It's not even getting hot. The Phillies have played at a 100-win pace since May. Yeah. No one realizes that for some reason. That's the best team in baseball for 75%.
Had a horrible start.
Yeah, I don't care how you play in April. It never should have been. Oh, the Braves are heavily favored. The Phillies have played better than them for a lot of the season, including that series. Including this series and the Braves are playing right now. They're going to make the World Series.
I got to ask Jack, with the Dodgers thing, can you really choke a series if you're just flat out outplayed?
I think it's
not
more
really.
Choking away the playoffs, right? You win 100 games and then you don't win a playoff game.
They've been doing this for so long. I mean, they were the best team in baseball in 2019, and they just let the Washington Nationals come into their place and win a big Game 5.
Yeah, but that was a Game 5, though. They were swept.
They were swept.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they were never in it. So how could you choke something away that you never had in the
I'm not saying they choked the actual series. I'm saying they choked in the playoffs.
They choked their season away.
Exactly.
Okay.
If you were to look at that roster in March or April, and tell me that they were going to win 102 games and lose in the NLDS, I would have said that's like 100th percentile season. That roster just wasn't good looking at it. And they got production from guys like Outman, who you never would have expected. Knew how to use Jason Hayward right and got him into a good season. But at the end of the day, you are banking a lot on Walker Buehler, who
hasn't played a full season of baseball in years.
And have we seen him pitch a full season? A bullpen that was just a bunch of cast-offs. Their best bullpen reliever this year they didn't get until June when he was DFA'd by the Red Sox for a 6.80 ERA. Like, the team is just horribly constructed from the from the top down. The fact that they got to that point is kind of incredible in and of itself. You really boil it down.
Yeah, I mean,
I get they're the Dodgers, and I get there's that pedigree there, but like, it was the worst Dodgers team.
Well, really, if you look at, you can boil it down. Midsummer, late summer, is just the star power kind of got them there, carried them to winning those games.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
the supporting cast was not as impressive.
I don't necessarily know if that's true.
Well, I think it definitely
was fantastic.
Is true. I mean, look at that. Look at the numbers, though, right? Like it's more than true. I mean, yeah, obviously the supporting cast is still above average because it's the Dodgers and they've spent hundreds of millions of dollars on it. But I mean, like, basically what I'm saying is that Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts elevated this team beyond what it really should have been in the regular season.
Let's take those two guys off the roster really quickly. You still got way better production than you could have assumed out of Will Smith. James Outman's going to finish number 2 in Rookie of the Year, which never anyone would have ever said that. They got production from Jason Hayward, which is not anything anyone could have expected. Max Muncy was not horrible, and I understand that he had the 180 batting average, but batting average is meaningless. You were able to get production from that bullpen when you never would have thought you got production from that bullpen. You got, granted it all got hurt, but you got decent production from the back end of your starting rotation, which no one thought was actually going to be possible. I mean, they elevated, outside of just those two, elevated their entire roster way further than anyone could have expected. Way further.
Right, but I look at it, it comes down to postseason, because the regular season could mean jack when you get into situations like this, especially for the Dodgers. But I look at Betts and Freeman, who won a combined 1 for 21 in the 3-game series that they had. Like, they were never in any of these
That
games.
can't happen. You're too.
No, it cannot.
You're two max play well, not max players. That's not a thing in baseball. But like you're two marquee guys going
Superstars. What they are. Superstars are cold.
MVPs.
There is precedent for teams having their superstars get cold in the playoffs.
Oh well, yeah. Of course, especially in baseball is like streaky like that. But
and just look at the past 2 games.
Can't happen.
Look at the past 2 games in the ALCS. Leody Tavares is like 5 for 6.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
you can do it.
Every year in October, it's not always the stars that show up. It's always like your ninth hole guy comes out and bats
didn't Eddie Rosario win World Series MVP?
Yeah. Or
Soler
he did.
Series MVP Rosario won.
Horace Soler.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's that platoon outfielder that they traded for to replace Acuna that year, coming in and producing above what you would expect. And then you look at how you win the World Series is you have to produce above the baseline for your team. And so sometimes that just doesn't happen. But with the Dodgers, I feel like it's more than just it not happening because it's a consistent thing. It's a pattern.
And you look at 2022, when the Astros won the World Series, they basically mainly won because of Jeremy Pena, who they brought up to replace Carlos Correa. I mean, he had like a 358 batting average throughout the entire playoffs last year. I mean, and there's a reason he won World Series MVP. He was basically getting on base like 4 times a game.
That being said, they had a 6-year progression plan on Jeremy Pena. Like, they were preparing for Jeremy Pena to replace Carlos Correa. They were planning on Jeremy Pena replacing Carlos Correa like 4 years before Carlos Correa left.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah,
that didn't surprise me anywhere near like Soler did or anything like that.
Well, Soler, that's different because Pena's like the young guy who they knew was going to be good, like they expected him to be good. Soler is impressive because he came in as like a veteran guy that they traded for midseason. It was him and Jock Peterson, and they came in and replaced that Acuna production in the outfield. And that's what won them the World Series, really.
Right, but these are also...
I think Jeremy Pena is
20-something.
He's like 23, right?
It's like 20.
He's 26.
Oh, wow.
He's 26.
Wow.
This is his prime.
Yeah.
That was done on purpose.
The Peterson and Soler thing, those were postseason guys, though. I mean, those guys were made for the postseason. They were experienced guys. Just got on that Atlanta
that
ring.
Could have easily gone the other way, though, because both of those guys are more the power hitting type. So if they get cold, then they're 0 for 10 in a series with no walks because they're just swinging and missing. Like timing does have something to do with it.
Right, but I mean, you look at it as a whole and what they did for that specific team. I mean, you brought in both of those guys veterans and who had a lot of postseason success. So I think that does help having that.
Jock Peterson also went 1 for 15. Jock Peterson went 1 for 15 in the World Series, for what it's worth. He was not good at all in the World Series. He was good in the rounds leading up to the World Series. His NLDS was fantastic.
Yeah.
His NLCS was meh, but his OPS in the World Series was 243. I wouldn't go anywhere near saying Jock Peterson was the reason they won the World Series.
No.
In fact, probably the opposite.
You can't... I'm not saying in the sense of during the World Series, but he's a huge part of the reason they were able to get there in the first place is basically just the replacement value that they got from him and Soler and Rosario. Because he flopped a little bit in the World Series doesn't mean he wasn't a reason they won.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just a little more big picture than just the World Series games.
I don't know. The Braves have something. I don't know exactly how they pulled that kind of stuff off every single year, but I mean, they'll be fine. They'll be competitive again next year. But my God, I'll be rooting against them because that whole team is so insufferable.
Yeah, I still don't get why
so insufferable.
Travis d'Arnaud in. I don't know why Travis d'Arnaud was in for games 2 and 3.
Because Sean Murphy's been like the worst offensive catcher in the league over the back half of the season.
Yeah, Sean Murphy's been awful for months.
Yeah,
true. That's fair. And d'Arnaud did hit a homer in game 2.
that got buried because Acuna was as good as he was. Matt Olson was as good as he was.
He did need to be so
Austin
good.
Riley was as good as he was.
Yeah.
Sean Murphy has been awful since June.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. He was.
If you were to combine the first third of Sean Murphy's season with the set 2/3 of Trey Turner's season, you're looking at the greatest player of all time. Greatest season of all time.
Yeah. The Trey Turner turnaround's been pretty good too. But I think that's more about the Philly fan mental base about instead of just booing a guy relentlessly when he comes up to bat, you have to stick with your team. But that's just a sort of mental baseball thing, I think. Getting hot after the standing ovation happened.
Or just hear me out. Trey Turner is really damn good.
Yeah, he's really good.
It's okay to have two good.
Yeah.
It's okay to
That's
have
what
two
I'm
bad
saying
months.
is that it's all mental. So if you start off poorly and your fans are just dogpiling on you, that can take a toll on a person.
Yeah.
But on the other side, you've got Rangers Astros, which I think is a pretty good series.
I mean, it could be. I mean, Evan Carter.
It has the potential to be.
Lights out.
But
Yeah, Evan Carter's been lights out.
I don't even really care about the on the field happenings right now so much as I don't like the Rangers shock the world narrative. If you have the fourth highest payroll in baseball, you're not shocking the world if you win anything, because that's the point of it.
And their manager is built to win in the playoffs.
Who's their manager again?
Bruce Bochy.
Yeah, Bruce Bochy. That's what
Okay, but that's no one would say that about the guy. No one would say that about the manager that won it last year. No one would say that about the manager that won it 2 years ago. No one would say that about the manager that won it 3 years ago. No one would say that about the manager that won it 4 years ago. I mean, when's the last time we had someone had a manager that won his second ring? It might have been Bruce Bochy.
It probably was Bruce Bochy.
I know it was Matheny, or it was Matheny. No, it wasn't Matheny in 2015. It was Ned Yost in 2015. I believe won his first. Madden in 2016 his first. AJ Hinch in 17 won his first.
Cora.
18.
Cora.
Yeah, Cora won his. Yeah, so it's Bruce Bochy.
Yeah.
It's been a decade since the manager won his
forever.
second ring. I mean, it's probably there's a 50-50 shot it happens this year, obviously, if the AL wins, but
yeah.
I don't think the manager built for the playoffs thing is legit.
No. I mean,
it's not. There's no.
It's more on the players.
Yeah. Baseball's really too streaky to put any stock in something like a playoff manager, because oftentimes the manager doesn't really have a whole lot to do with it anyway. They set the lineups and they make the decisions during the game and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, there's no tactics in baseball beyond some stuff on the bases. If you hit the ball, you hit the ball. If you don't, you don't.
And 30 out of those decisions when it comes to pitching changes and pinch hitting and stuff like that come from the front office.
Yeah.
Well, and
it's all based on an
morale.
algorithm, basically. There's no.
It is all,
but a lot of the
a
lot of the managers for team morale and locker room, things like that. You got to be able to hold together a locker room.
Especially
that really goes for
over
any
162
we know
games
that.
plus.
Why do you think Dusty Baker keeps getting managing jobs?
Yeah.
No one would ever look and say Dusty Baker is a good in-game manager.
Well, I mean, it's really
Dusty Baker's probably the worst in-game manager of all time.
It's really just the two polar opposites. Is you look at Dusty Baker, he gets jobs because he's so good in the locker room, versus a guy like Tony La Russa, who is so bad in the locker room that his team is actually losing games because of it. And I mean, that was last year, 2 years ago, but
job. But he also only got a man. How bad that he in the 8th. That's not necessarily think that's a fair comparison, because La Russa, there are only one team in the league that would have hired La Russa for that sort of job, and it is the White Sox. It is solely because of what happened in 1985. I don't put that much weight into the La Russa White Sox sort of run either.
Well,
that's just a hilarious. That's just a hilarious organization.
Yeah, the hiring itself was suspect. It was probably a poor choice, but I mean, just what happened when he actually was the manager is pretty indicative of what being a baseball manager is now. But,
all I'm saying is Tony La Russa admitted to cheating back in 1984, and somehow it took AJ Hinch 3 years to get a job. Throw that out there.
Yeah.
admitted to doing the exact 84. Almost like people just hate the Astros for no apparent reason, but that's my rant.
Well, I mean, we could get into that, but I think we might want to avoid that for now. Because that'll snowball, and I can tell you that right now. Some football stuff. I know Jeff's going to have a lot to say, as usual. But Thursday Night Football last week, Broncos 8, Chiefs 19. Jeff, you said you had some stuff to say?
Yeah, so, unfortunately, I sat through the duration of this game. And it was probably one of the worst games I've seen. Definitely probably the worst this year. But I'm not buying the Kansas City hype. I really don't think a lot of people are. I get the Travis Kelce. He's the only guy they have. I get the Mahomes thing. But their red zone offense was atrocious. And that's against a bad defense. And Denver, with how well their defense played, I mean, sacking Mahomes and intercepting them, the offense was just horrid. And a lot of it's got to do with Sean Payton. A lot of it's got to do with Russell Wilson. And it's an experiment for Denver that hasn't worked out. Again, I said this a few episodes ago. Sean Payton's the most overrated coach in NFL history. I'm going to stay to my word on that. Sean Payton's done nothing with them. I mean, he talked all that garbage before the season started about Nathaniel Hackett, and you go and lose to that team at home, and you've got yourself in a game against Kansas City. Nobody was giving you a chance, and you still can't find a way to knock them off. I thought it was a bad game by both teams, and it says more about Kansas City, though, than it does about Denver, because everybody knows Denver's already bad. But Kansas City, they boast that 5-1 record, 5 straight regardless, but 4 out of those 5 wins haven't been good.
And honestly...
No, their only convincing win was against the Bears, who they won 41-10, but granted the Bears are just bad. And the 2 games... Right. The Jags, they won 17-8 or
that
something like that.
17-9. That was a horrible 17-9.
Yeah. And then they beat the Broncos 19-8. Yeah. I mean, they are just not that good this
year.
Honestly,
the one legitimate Super Bowl contending might be a stretch, but the one legitimate contending team they played in the Lions week 1, they lost. They played a close game, but I think the Lions since then have taken a step, and I think the Chiefs since then have taken a step back because something is wrong with that offense. Like the receivers are no good. Their best receiver is probably Justin Ross at this point.
Travis Kelce.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think Travis Kelce's more of a wide receiver at this point than a tight end.
The issue is for them is that you say all this about losing these games like to Detroit and all that, beating Jacksonville by 8. Let's not forget they had 2 games that they shouldn't have won against the Jets, which was bailed out by the referees, and again by Minnesota. So if you take those wins away, they're sitting at 3-3. Don't buy it.
Really going to sit here though and say that a 5-1 team that's only losses to another 5-1 team whose defense is top 10, basically whatever way you want to put it, who has the greatest quarterback of all time, is out of it?
No, yeah. I'm not saying
no one mentioned.
We obviously know they're not out of it.
Yeah, they're just not as good.
I don't think they're a contender.
No one's mentioned.
Were in past years.
I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true.
What's
that? They're not a contender.
This is a team that's a legitimate juggernaut on defense.
No, their defense is
very good. They have one of the best corners in the game.
Is very good.
Their defensive line's a top unit. They don't need, and they built that team to where they don't need wide receivers who are game breaking.
Yeah, but here's the problem. The wide receivers have been game breaking. They've just been game breakingly bad. Like dropping balls, missing routes. It's so bad.
They are 5-1, and their loss came to another 5-1.
No, you can't call them. Hold on. You can't call them a 5-1 team based on who they've played and how many games they've gotten away.
They're 5-1.
I'm going to walk through the. Hold on.
How many wins do they have? How many wins do they have?
Hold on. I'm going to go through the schedule right now. Week 1, you beat Detroit 20. You lose to Detroit, 23-20, whatever it was. You lose.
At one point.
Fine.
It was really close.
And then week 2.
The worst offensive game that Detroit has played all year, by the way.
Yeah.
week 2, you've played
Game
Jacksonville,
all
a team on the road who Jacksonville has not looked that good this year. A lot of expectations. People thought they'd be better. You only win that by 8. You score 17 points, 17-9. Week 3, you blow out the
in a
Bears. Who
historically
cares?
tough
It's
road
the Bears.
environment.
In Jacksonville, hold on. You beat the Bears, right? So you're 2-1, right? And then what was their next game against the Jets? You barely beat the Jets. And two
Zach
games
Wilson
in there, the
Jets,
Jets
by the way.
and the Vikings. The Jets and the Vikings should not have won that game. You can't look at the record, and then obviously the last 2 weeks or the last week, but you can't look at the 5-1 record and say they're one of the top 5 teams. Record-wise, they are, but if you actually break down the record and the team itself, they're 3-3 at best.
It's
at
more
least
about,
they should be.
You have mentioned those games as if it's not the worst offensive game. All of those teams have played.
No, okay. Here's the thing. You have
And
a
the
point
fact
that
that they were
this
still able to
defense,
outscore
the
them in
defense
five.
But how
is
well did
surprisingly
Kansas City
good.
play?
The defense is surprisingly good, but the problem is when you come up against teams like, I think the Lions game is a bit of an outlier for both teams, considering that's the first game of the season. I think you...
How?
No, you
That's
can
exactly the same team we've seen from all...
That's just not true.
We've seen from both of those teams for 6 weeks.
Okay, look, right? Look at the offenses they're playing, right? You've got the Bears and the Broncos, just historically atrocious teams at this point. And you beat both teams as you should beat both teams. And then you've got the Zach Wilson Jets, who I think Zach Wilson's taken a step up this year, personally. And then you've got Justin Jefferson-less Vikings for most of the game. And then you've got, what was the other team they played? Jacksonville. And I'll give them credit with the Jacksonville win. That's an impressive win, considering how tough that environment was. With the weather, like it was 100 degrees for that game. That's incredible.
You scored 17 points. In the Mahomes era, they scored a...
If you have to look beyond just the record at a certain point, right? Because if you think about it,
that's
look
what
at
I'm
like
doing.
The Steelers in 2021. They started 11-0, and they finished 12-4 and got knocked out in the first round. You have to use your the eye test a little bit more than just 5-1.
For what it's worth, you just called the second best passing attack in the sport so far this year a bad offense.
Who?
Vikings.
Okay,
yeah,
but they didn't have Justin Jefferson.
The Vikings this year are the Dolphins.
Justin Jefferson was out most of the game.
Quarters of the game.
No, he was out most of the game.
Got hurt at the end of the third.
Here's the issue, though. The issue is not how good the defense is playing. And frankly, I would sure as hope that the defense played good. Because they played the Bears, the Jags, who else? The Broncos. I hope the defense would play well. The problem for me is that when you think of Kansas City, you think of Mahomes and Kelsey and all that offense, basically. Right now, there's about 6 or 7 teams in the AFC alone who have unbelievably better offenses than Kansas City, and you're not going to win games against real opponents scoring 17 points.
What I worry about is if they end up in a shootout with a team like Buffalo, then I don't think they win that game. Or Miami or any of these teams that have those better offenses.
And I got to tell you something. They're going to run into some trouble against Los Angeles on Sunday, too. I don't care if that game's at home. Because, division rival, the Chargers are pissed off of them last night. So, honestly, 5-1, it's still relatively early in the year, right? 6 weeks, 7 weeks, whatever. But honestly, if I'm the Chiefs, I'm looking at 5-1. I'm getting a little bit concerned with the Raiders being 3-3 right.
There are 2 offenses in the AFC that have scored more touchdowns than the Chiefs. There are only 5 teams in the entire NFL that have more passing yards than the Chiefs. The offense isn't bad. It's top 10 any way you want.
The offense is bad from a point where we've seen Kansas City do so much more than that. And even without Tyreek Hill last year, they were so much better than
They've
this
looked dramatically
year's
worse
offense.
than they were last year, I think.
They are a top 10 unit on both sides of the ball, probably top 5 on one of them.
Right, but you can't.
That is one of the best teams in the sport.
They're averaging 24 points a game, which is the lowest amount in the Mahomes era. And when you look at this Kansas City team, You compare them to Miami. You compare them to Buffalo. Jacksonville? Even though they beat Jacksonville, or Baltimore, excuse me. They don't look as good.
Oh,
And
Baltimore doesn't look great either.
Listen, I could care. Baltimore looks better than Kansas City. I could care less if the Chiefs beat down on the Bears or the Broncos, because that doesn't mean anything. Anybody could beat down on those teams. My issue is when they get to Buffalo, when they get to Miami. I think they got to play Cincinnati. When they play Philadelphia Monday night, those are 4 losses right there. So because they haven't shown that they can beat a team into the ground, you've got to be able to beat these teams into the ground. And I think that's something that Buffalo did well and Miami has done well.
Let's talk about that theoretical Buffalo and Kansas City game, because every single team that the Chiefs have played this year, they've shut down the number 1 receiver because their number 1 cornerback is in almost every case better than the other team's number 1 receiver.
McDuffie?
Trent McDuffie has been one of the best players in football this year, in any which way you want to spin it. So that game, you are going to end up relying on the most inconsistent player in the National Football League as your de facto top target in that game. With a rushing attack who is already down 1 player that's been at best, with a defense that's been shaky at times. Why shouldn't Kansas City be favored in that game? Kansas City only averages 3 points per game, less than Buffalo.
It's the way that they play, though, because if when looking at all of these teams,
you're comparing the Chiefs. You're not comparing the Chiefs to the NFL. You're comparing the Chiefs to previous Chiefs teams. I don't care how good the Chiefs are in 2023 compared to 2021. I care how good the Chiefs are compared.
Yeah, but you would be a moron if you didn't say that this is the same team that we've seen the past few years, because that's something they've always had. They've always had the ability.
I'm saying it's one of the best teams in the NFL.
How? I don't understand how you could beat a team 17-9, 23. Like, you should not have this. My point is, this is a team that should not have 5 wins. I could care less about what the offense does, what it did last year, what the defense does, because I don't think the defense is going to keep it up this year. And when they have to play a real opponent, they're going to get in trouble. I wouldn't see this team as they are right now, 5-1. Let's say they have to go to Buffalo next week, or they got to play Miami, somebody. It's coming up on the schedule. I wouldn't feel good if I was a Chiefs fan, because
thing, right?
If you've seen the games,
how many teams
bailed out.
How many teams across the league can you look at right now and say that they're top 10 on both sides of the ball and top 5 on one of them?
5.
And
every team that has a top 5 defense has a top 10 offense? No. Cleveland is the number 1 defense in the sport, and they do not have a top 10 offense.
Maybe
how many teams can you say both have a?
Philly and San Francisco both do,
okay.
I think, in my eyes.
Okay, so the Chiefs are one of 3 teams who are that complete.
Here's the thing, right? I don't think that the Chiefs' offense is all that good. I don't like the way when I watch a Chiefs game, right?
Everything
what
proves
you should
that wrong.
see is it's just not as fluid as it was last year, and I don't think that you can sustain a full season of National Football League play with an offense that's been as shaky at times as it has been. They went up against the Jets, who arguably have a top 5 defense in the league right now. Actually, I don't even think that's arguable. I think they do have a top 5 defense in the league right now. And Mahomes played the worst game he's played probably his entire career.
The point is, with the issue is, you don't even have to look back to last year to say that this team shouldn't be considered on the same level as Miami and Buffalo. And again, you could pull up the stats that they've got the top 5, top 10 offense, top 5 offense, whatever, stats, whatever. But my issue with them is this. You can't look at their schedule and say that this is a good team, because they've been bailed out by more than half of their games. You beat down on the Bears, fine, 41-0 or whatever the score was. That should be your only win of the year. Minnesota and the Jets, they shouldn't have won that game. Jacksonville, you only won by 8. That's not impressive. And then what were the other one? Who'd they just beat? Denver on Thursday night, 19-8. I mean, you can't look at a team that's done all of that.
I think that's a terrible argument, right? Because a win is a win.
How is it terrible?
You can't be mad at a win. And it's still an NFL
But
team.
yeah, you
It's still an
can
NFL
critique
team
it,
on the
though.
other side of the ball. It's still
I don't care
the
if
best
it's an
players in the
NFL team
world.
on the ball.
What?
You've got to look to it and
There's-
see if they don't. They should have legitimately lost the game against the Jets, and you can't deny they've been bailed out. They've been handed on a silver platter 2 wins.
Look,
This is a 3-3 team at best.
There is one quarterback in the NFL with more added value to his team this year than Patrick Mahomes per the stats, and he plays in Miami. I don't think it's none of these concerns make any sense.
That they can't beat teams into the ground when they should be able to. They're not convincing wins.
Again,
So
you're
if they're not
comparing them to last year. I don't care how good
No,
they are
no, this
compared
isn't
to
even
2020.
I'm not, hold on.
Jeff,
I'm
stop,
not
Jeff,
convincing
stop,
you
Jeff.
from
That's
last
what you're
year.
doing.
The issue is with this. You can't score 17 points a game. If this was any other team, if any team in the league, if you win 17-9, that's not a good win. A good win is putting up 30 points a game, which the Chiefs have done once this entire year. All these other teams, Buffalo,
Put up 30 points a
Miami,
game.
Buffalo,
Miami
Miami,
is putting up 30 points.
Baltimore.
Buffalo-
They're winning in convincing ways. Kansas City can't do that, and they've been bailed out of 2 games. So I don't see it as a contender.
I don't even think that the argument at this point is comparing them to last year's Chiefs team, which won the Super Bowl. I think it's that you get to a team like the Broncos the Vikings are a very poor team. They're I don't know what's their record, like 2-4 or something like that. It's just these teams that are squandered, like just wallowing in the depths of the league right now, and you're playing them to 1 or 2 scores, and you should be beating them down. Every other contending team we've seen this year has been able to take these teams and beat them down. And obviously last week we saw the Browns took down the Niners.
The Bills. Did we miss the Bills only?
What?
Yeah, but that's we're gonna get to that. The Bills.
We've gone off on the Bills before.
No, the issue with that is that Buffalo has beaten teams into the ground like Washington, and they played somebody else, Oakland, Las Vegas. They've beat those teams into the ground. So I think that's the difference, and they've killed us 48 to 20.
The thing with the Chiefs, the thing with the
that's
Chiefs
the
is
issue right there.
if their offense can't score more than like 19 points a game, the defense is just going to get tired and they're going to lose a lot more games.
That's the problem the Bengals had. Is that they?
And I want to go on the
Chiefs scored 25 points per game.
That's such a.
You take out the 41 points per
stat.
game.
That's such a misleading stat. If you if you would normalize the 41 points to what their average is, then it would be way lower.
Now, and this is the same thing. I'm glad you brought that up because this is the same thing people say about Miami. They say take away that 70-point game, they haven't done anything. Well, they're still averaging 30 points a game this season. So that it can be. I don't understand it. And the point I'm trying to make is I might have said something earlier about last year's team being compared to this team's. But when you look contender-wise in the AFC, when you look at the Chiefs up against Miami, Buffalo, and Baltimore, they don't look good. They look terrible. They look like against some of these other teams like Detroit and San Francisco.
I don't think they stand up to these other. I don't think they stand.
Do they look good? I think they look terrible. I don't think I've seen one game they've played outside of the Bears that have looked genuinely good. I don't know. I think looking at the Baltimore, Miami, Buffalo, even in their division, Las Vegas, and then
Las
in the
Vegas
NFC
is
with
not that good,
Detroit, Philadelphia, and San Francisco, they look extremely worse than all of those teams.
Take out the Bills' top game of the year, and they're averaging 25 a game. You can play this with every team. You can play this with every single team.
Yeah,
but my point is with the...
You're dealing in hypothetical scenarios.
No, you can play this with every team except Miami. Because Miami's average goes
up 8 points a game if you take out
their average without that game is still incredibly high.
It's still 30 points. I just said if without the 70
game
points,
isn't the number one offense in the sport.
Who is it then?
Miami's number one game, the top offense in the sport is San Francisco.
Okay, San Francisco's like the best team in the league. I don't see what the point is.
You can play with everyone is my point. If you're dealing in hypothetical scenarios to try to defend or try to tear down the Chiefs, you can deal with hypothetical scenarios to tear down
I'm
everything.
not trying
And
to
hold
deal
on,
in a
hold on.
hypothetical
I don't-
scenario. I'm not trying to deal in a hypothetical
That's exactly
scenario.
what take out one game is.
No, I don't. I
Hold on,
never
I
said
think-
to take out one game.
Take out one is the epitome of a hypothetical scenario.
I'm
Hold on,
saying
but
if
I
you
don't
look
think-
at the games they've played, you should batter the Broncos. I don't even
Right.
care about the other games because those are against decent teams to good teams. Like
Oh, the Jets are
losing
decent.
19-8 against the Broncos is just pathetic. Letting the Broncos play up to you like that is ridiculous. That
was
should
a
never
one-score
happen.
game in the fourth
That should
quarter.
never happen.
For what it's worth, the Chiefs covered.
So hold on.
The
That's
Chiefs
not
are only
worth anything.
expected to beat them by
It's
10 and a
not
half.
worth
Hold on,
anything.
but San Francisco really has the best offense.
Yes, dude. They've got like 4 All-Pros
Yeah.
on their offense.
No, they have the
Half
best
of them are
offense
hurt.
if you take the Dolphins' number 1 game out.
Oh, okay. I didn't catch that.
Do you know
but-
how many teams in the league have a higher margin of victory right now than the Kansas City Chiefs?
How many?
What? 3.
Who's the 3?
Buffalo, Miami. Chiefs are 4.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I'm not saying the Chiefs are a bad team. I just think they don't stack up to the
I
other
think
great
they are.
teams in the AFC. That's my whole argument. I don't know what Jeff's going on about.
Well, I literally just said I don't think that they're that good of a contender when you compare them up against these other teams. And to say
They're
that
still the Chiefs.
to sit there and
find a way
act,
to win these games.
with fucking officials, of course they will. To sit there and
Chiefs were
say that
5th
this
in
team-
average margin of victory in 2022. Or 3rd or 4th this year.
They won the
last year.
Super Bowl.
I don't think we
That's my
can't
point,
sit
Drew.
here. We can't sit here and say that this 5-1 Chiefs team is on the same level as Miami, Buffalo, and Baltimore. Like there's the 5-1 Chiefs team plays like a team that should be 3-3. And I don't think we can.
Baltimore just only beat probably the least talented roster in the sport by 8.
Well, they have a lot of receiver problems.
I don't think Baltimore's that good either. I don't think they're going to win the AFC North.
Well, I think somebody's biased because they're a Bengals fan.
Well, I
You
think
gotta
I'm right.
recognize Baltimore.
I think I
recognize
could
them.
recognize the
They
receivers
figured
dropped
out.
like 8 balls on Sunday.
Yeah, they do. But I mean, I think Lamar Jackson's done a lot better with passing.
Doesn't matter how
because
Lamar
he
Jackson's
never
doing. If the
used
ball
to-
ends up on the ground at the end of the play, it doesn't matter.
Right, but you can't turn the
Well,
blind
almost like
eye to
Lamar
how-
Jackson could always throw.
Right, but you can't
That's
turn. You
another
can't turn a
argument.
blind eye. You can't turn a blind eye to how much more refined he is with throwing the
No,
football.
he's
over
gotten
the last
better
few
this year.
years. Yeah, so I mean, I think that it's just something to look out for. And again, it's still really early. in the
It's
year.
not.
We're
We're
only
almost
week
mid-season.
7. Well, we got a few more weeks till
We
that.
got 2 more weeks till it's mid-season, Jeff.
But I mean, I don't think we can't sit here and say that Chiefs team is on the same level as some of these. At least my opinion is.
I'm picking them to
Just
win the
that's the
Super
way
Bowl
that-
still, pretty easily.
Good for you. I mean, of course they'll win because
just not.
you got to factor in the referees and officials. No other team has gotten that this year except the Bills. But the NFC looks interesting to me.
Well, I
Yeah,
think
I mean-
it's pretty clear cut who the best team in the NFC is, assuming they stay
Yeah,
healthy.
it's
Right, but I
San
mean, I think Philadelphia. I think Detroit might rival Philadelphia for second best.
maybe.
I could see that.
I mean, that team's going to cruise through their division.
Detroit
I mean,
is
that-
interesting because they
they-
got such an easy
oh.
schedule based on their record last year compared to these other contending teams.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, probably next year we'll see how good Detroit can be, because they're probably because they're 5-1 right now, and if they keep this up, they will probably win like 11 games or so, and they'll probably get a decently tough schedule next year.
This
So-
is
You think
kinda
the
like,
Lions are only going to go 500 the rest of the season?
Yeah, no, I think they'll win 13
You think the Lions
games
are only going to
easily.
go 500 the rest of the season?
Their roster
I'm
is so
just-
supremely talented compared to their schedule. Like,
Them to go,
Okay,
them
but
to
you
go
got
to from 5-1 to 11-6.
that's a crazy collapse. That's what I expect out of the Chiefs, not the Lions.
Chiefs first 5 weeks last year.
Okay.
Their first week was a beatdown of the Cardinals. The Cardinals finished with the second worst record in sport.
Yeah.
Second week was a win by 3 over the Chargers.
Who always play them close.
Third was a loss. Third was a loss by 3 to the Colts.
Brutal.
Fourth was a win by 10 over an 8-9 Buccaneers team.
I hate that argument.
Fifth was a win by 1 over a bad Raiders team. And sixth was a loss by 4 to the Bills.
I got to go back on your point. With the Buccaneers, you say that the 8-9 Buccaneers team. I don't think that matters when you're talking about it like that.
What?
That's what was that, like
Why?
the fourth week? Because you can't say somebody's an 8-9 team when it's like week 4.
They ended up being 8-9. You could definitely say that.
Yeah, but that didn't matter.
Did the
at
Buccaneers
time. Like,
did the Buccaneers collapse in any way or fashion?
No, they.
Oh, yeah, in that
pretty-
wild card
they
game,
didn't.
they
No,
did.
they played pretty
That's who they
steadily
were all
like
year.
an 8-9 team all
That's
year.
who they were all year.
We knew who they
Last
were.
year, the Buccaneers?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because they had Tom Brady.
This kid.
They had the master class at the Dink and Dunk special.
Oh,
So now we're
we're
basing
back
the
on the Tom Brady
2022
dink and
Buccaneers
dunk.
off. Hold up.
Oh, yeah, we are.
Wait. So now we're basing the 2022 Buccaneers on the 2021 Buccaneers. Sounds like
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Your mic is cut out like 40 times. I don't even know what sport we're on anymore.
Bro's trying to duck the argument. That's crazy.
Oh, like you're trying to duck the Brady Dink and Dunk argument.
I'm not ducking the Brady dink and dunk argument. I will stand
Go
by
watch.
that my
Go
entire
watch the
life.
tape, buddy. Go watch
Jeff,
the tape.
every single quarterback thinks
3.4
he
air yards in Super Bowl 55. That's enough for me. Also, gets way too much credit for undue success.
Oh my gosh.
But that's a story for another time. What do we think about the in the AFC? The whole AFC North division is confusing for me because all of those teams have a legitimate shot to win, yet the Bengals are still in last place. So, I mean,
Honest,
what's
well,
up with
yeah,
that?
the Bengals are 500
Yeah.
and in last place, which kind of speaks to the strength overall of the division. But I think the Bengals are going to win, but I'm a little biased. I don't know. I don't think the Ravens can continue
think-
this for a full season, personally.
I think the Bengals will win too. I mean, they'll fight. They'll figure it out. They always do. Even though Burrow's still not like fully
He's
healthy.
running sprints in practice again, so
That's good.
which is
yeah.
encouraging considering he hasn't run in practice in 6 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, I think this week will tell a lot about the team. San Francisco is going to be really tough.
We don't play San Francisco. We're on bye,
Oh, right. Yeah.
which is honestly perfect.
Yeah. Where's that San Francisco game? Is it Cincinnati?
I don't really know. I don't think it matters.
It might. I mean,
It is in
San Francisco.
Yeah.
it's in San Fran.
Yep.
I don't know if this is. I don't know about the AFC North. I don't know if this number's still 100% accurate because it was going into last week, so it might have changed a little bit. But do you guys know how many yards before contact the Browns were allowing
How many?
I'm sure it's very little.
going into last week?
No.
0.
Yeah, I mean
0.
Their defense is incredible. It's just
That
a shame
defense
that
is
their
good enough.
offense is
That
pathetic.
defense is good enough to where they're going to have a shot.
Yeah.
Do you keep PJ Walker in?
PJ Walker did not
No.
play any worse than Deshaun Watson did.
I mean,
PJ Walker
the
was
offense
awful.
is just
The
bad.
consensus best team in the
Like,
league. Well, Deshaun
I mean,
Watson has been equally as awful.
but yeah, Deshaun Watson's been bad too.
But there's a reason the Bears cut PJ Walker like after preseason.
This guy said on this podcast that
There's a
PJ
reason the
Walker should
Panthers
start over
didn't-
Justin Fields.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I
There's
did
a
say
reason
that.
the Panthers didn't keep PJ Walker. That's your better argument. PJ Walker
That's true.
single-handedly won them a game last year.
Deshaun Watson's a waste of a contract, and he should be in prison. But whatever. The contract was just ridiculous.
Yeah, that's
That he
insane.
did. So many of the
Contract he
Daniel
gives them.
Jones one doesn't make any sense.
No,
There's
two-
I mean,
wait.
Daniel Jones
There's a
won them
clear-
one
a lot of
playoff
teams
game
that go-
playing worse.
Think they have
Go ahead.
their franchise
Deshaun-
guy drop a huge bag on them, and then they're terrible. We've seen it
Deshaun
constantly.
Watson contract is the second It's the second worst move in the history of the National Football League.
What
And the first would be the
one?
Bears.
Based on what is at the time. What do you guys think the first one is? I think there's a very clear-cut answer.
Bears drafting Mitchell Trubisky,
No.
which is honestly bad. That was bad. You took the guy that lost the
Oh, it was
ACC
horrible.
championship game over Deshaun Watson. Like,
Oh,
how does that make sense?
That was a bad move. That was a bad move, but it's nowhere near as bad as the worst move in NFL history.
The Raiders drafted
Which one do you
Jamarcus
think?
Russell.
Nope.
No,
Nope.
he was the one at the time. That's like
That's fair, yeah. He
Niners-
just didn't try.
It's the Niners trading up for Trey Lance.
oh yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
bad.
that was bad.
There's a lot of similarities between those two exact moves. Both of them, Deshaun Watson was suspended for the entire, or did not
No,
play
he
the
just
entire
didn't play,
21
which is honestly worse.
Yeah, he didn't play the entire 2021 season, and he was suspended for the first 12, 11 games, something like
13,
that, of
something
the
like
20
that.
It was a lot of
yeah,
games.
of the 2022 season, and he was suspended for those games
A lot of allegations,
before
too.
the Browns traded for him.
Yeah.
Meaning the plan for the Cleveland Browns in this scenario was to go for a guy whose last game was in December of 2020 without fans in a completely broken season. Wait over 2 years, almost 3 years before you were going to play another football game again, and you gave him $230 million guaranteed. The Niners, trading up for Trey Lance, played the 2019 season. He didn't have the 2022 season. He played one game against Central Arkansas, who had one NFL prospect on him, who got on that roster, who got drafted in the 6th round and immediately cut. Didn't look good in that game, and they gave up 3 first-round picks to go up and get him with the intention of sitting him the entire season. The 2 worst moves in the history of the National Football League. There's no sort of explanation for what the Browns did with Deshaun Watson.
It's so interesting too
At
that they
this
gave
point-
him so much money
but
because
at this point, you're stuck.
no one else was going to pay him. And
Yeah, but they gave him this money after he had 27 allegations against him, or however many it was. Like, that's bizarre in of itself. Like, that alone is insane.
Yeah.
To give a guy that much money. And Watson was like fairly above average, but he wasn't any sort of.
It's also bizarre to think that a
he
guy
was
that
a
just
solid
sat out 2
quarterback.
years of
No,
football.
No. 2019 Deshaun Watson was one of the best quarterbacks
He
in
was
this
so
sport.
good.
He was
Right, he was, but I mean,
Let's not run this revisionist history on that. Deshaun Watson was absolutely
2019
incredible
was
before he
also 4
stopped
years
playing.
ago.
He
No,
stopped playing.
I'm just saying it's
Well, yeah, no,
bizarre to
that's
expect.
that's my point.
It's just so
Yeah.
weird that an NFL front office that's full of like the smartest
can't
people in
take
football
2 years off.
would say this quarterback took 2 years off playing football, has 27 criminal allegations against him, and is going to come back. We're going to give him the biggest contract, or biggest guaranteed contract in history, and he's going to come in and play well. Like, it's bizarre to think that.
He hasn't even played well for them.
No, that's
the
what
GM
I'm saying.
that traded for Deshaun was the GM that traded for Deshaun Watson the same one that drafted the greatest quarterback of all time and instantly got fired because the roster wasn't good around him, and then they won the Super Bowl the next year? I don't think it's the
Who are we talking about?
NFL.
What are you talking about?
And Dorsey.
Who?
And Dorsey.
Who did you draft?
I think he was the one that traded for Deshaun Watson.
Oh, Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah. Who's not the greatest quarterback of all time.
Think
but
you?
Patrick Mahomes isn't even
You're
close.
wrong.
I'm right.
You can't here. Hold on. No. Let me say something here. You can't say any current player right now is a Hall of Famer, because that's just ridiculous.
What? No, you definitely can't.
No,
Are you
you
kidding
You
me?
can't say, okay, Hall of Famer maybe. All-time great? No way.
What?
Still too
You
early.
can.
You
No,
can't. Look at the
great.
okay.
Mahomes,
I do not think
Uh-uh.
Mahomes is the greatest quarterback of all time. I do think if he retired right now, and you could look past like the lack of yards and whatever, he'd be a Hall of Famer. Look at the resume.
Yeah, but
He
you
already
could
has
be a
more
Hall of Famer.
Patrick Mahomes already has more yards than a lot of players in the Hall of Fame.
Exactly.
You could be a Hall of Famer and still not be considered an all-time great.
What?
Mahomes is not an all-time
What?
great.
Hold up. We are currently living in a world where the greatest tight end of all time is playing, the greatest left tackle of all time.
Oh my
These are-
God!
The
No,
greatest-
no.
the
Get out of
greatest-
here. Get out of here with that left
Not-
tackle.
not a
Get out of here
shot.
with that left tackle.
Not a shot.
Don't even try that. That's insane to say
The
that.
greatest interior defensive lineman of all time.
Yeah.
Who?
Aaron Donald, bro.
Who?
Aaron?
Do you watch football?
Do you?
Yes.
He's a Hall of Famer, Aaron Donald?
Yes, bro. What are you talking about?
Oh my god!
Did I miss something?
trolling.
Like,
What?
Aaron Donald's a great
100%
player, but Hall of Famer?
Yes, he's an all-time
Yeah.
great.
No, he's not. He's still playing. How can you be an all-time great when you're still playing? It's insane.
Is LeBron James an all-time great?
Yes, but that's a whole
He's
different
still playing in the
argument.
league.
That is a complete different argument. You have to
Jeff
legitimately.
does realize
Not
that
great.
Tom Brady was in the league last year, right?
Yeah.
Tom Brady's not even the greatest quarterback of all
Oh
time.
my
But again,
gosh.
that's a
Right,
discussion
Patrick
for a
Mahomes
different
is.
No,
day.
it's Tom Brady.
It's not even close. It's Peyton Manning, for God's sake. He'll throw the ball down the field like a man instead of throw a 2-yard check down. Also, Rich Gannon is a top 5 quarterback of all time, but y'all not ready for that, so we're not going to go in for that.
He's just
But
trolling
no,
at this point.
the Rich Gannon thing, I'm not. But I don't know. The Travis Kelce's not the best tight end.
Because he's not a
That's
tight end. He's a
insane.
receiver.
Well, he's technically a tight end.
Well,
But
yeah,
he's not
they
the
call
best
him a tight end. He
Yeah.
doesn't play tight end.
Tony Gonzalez is better.
like a tight end.
I mean, I'd
Rob
take him over
Gronkowski's the
that.
greatest tight end of all time.
Tony Gonzalez is, but honestly, and Gates below him. But all of this, when you really debate greatest of all time and stuff, not even greatest of all time, it really comes down to a personal preference, at the point, because so many of them are so great that it's hard to really compare them. And I mean, you can compare them, but for me, it's just going to come down to a personal preference.
Hey, there's technically a top 5 receiver of all time that isn't technically retired yet.
Who?
Antonio Brown.
He's
Oh
not
my
a top
God,
5
no
receiver.
way.
No,
He's
not top 5 all
He's
time. No.
He's 10.
Antonio Brown's not even top
He's top
20.
10.
Oh, whoa.
He's not
Top
even top
20?
50
He's top
all
10. Are
time.
you
So,
kidding
okay,
me?
Top
go down the list
50,
of
no
20
way.
and
No.
start. Go down to 20 on the list and tell me he's better than Antonio Brown.
I'll just rat off a couple of names. Well, let me just go from the top. Randy Moss, Chris Carter, Keyshawn Johnson, Reggie Wayne,
Chris
Calvin
Carter
Johnson.
is the number 2 guy you named on that list?
Not in order.
What? How did that? No, how did Keyshawn Johnson leave your mouth before Jerry Rice?
Because I've been thinking about Keyshawn Johnson.
Yeah, what about... You didn't even mention Marvin Harrison?
Well, yeah, I'm gonna get there. Marvin Harrison, Brandon,
Who?
many guys are
To
better
Brandon
than
Marshall.
Antonio. Brandon Marshall was basically Antonio Brown, but nobody wants to admit that. In his prime, he was. But I don't base Antonio Brown being good
Brandon
off of
Brandon Marshall is my favorite player of all time. In no way, shape, or form is he anywhere similar to Antonio Brown outside of the fact that they both play.
You're
wide.
just yapping.
Antonio Brown was
Just
good
saying.
for
Oh my
probably.
God.
Antonio Brown was probably good for about 4 years, and that was it.
What?
If you really go back and think of it, probably from 2015 to 2019, those were the only years he were good. But I don't know. I hate the back to the point. I hate the the all-time great top 10 when they're still playing. Obviously for Brady that was different.
How
just
is it
because
not
he's
different
been in
for
the
Aaron Donald?
league for
Is Aaron Donald not the Tom Brady?
because Aaron Donald hasn't been in the league
for.
for 25 years.
No NFL player
So
stays in the
what?
league for
Tony-
25 years.
Brady
Antonio
was
Brown had
basically.
Time out. Antonio Brown had 1,100 yards in 2011 and 1,300 yards in 2013.
Yeah. I mean, he's just making stuff
Okay,
up at
that's
this point.
2 years. Well, I don't think Antonio Brown's top
10.
15.
He's
I don't
top
know.
10.
That's just
Oh my
my.
fucking God. He's top 10, Jeff.
I could pick so many guys.
I don't
but-
think you realize how easy it is to be a top 25 wide receiver and you're at that stature. The 25th best or 25th most receptions of any wide receiver in NFL history. I doubt that. Maybe you guys have heard of him.
All right, let me pull this up.
He's nowhere near the Hall of Fame.
Who is it?
Muhsin Muhammad. That is number.
Oh yeah, he's
25.
great. He was great. I like that guy. He was good.
I don't think top 20 receiver is as a bar as what you think it is.
Muhsin Muhammad
There are-
has the longest
there are
Super Bowl
probably-
catch in history.
There are at least 5 or 6 guys who are still technically active in the NFL right now who are top.
Well, a lot of these guys are tight
Easily.
ends actually on this list.
Easily.
We're also forgetting a very important player.
Keenan Allen's
Who
on
really
the list.
helped.
Is Keenan Allen a Hall of Famer?
Maybe.
I
No.
think I don't know. I mean, maybe.
I think I could make that argument.
I think
Keenan Allen-
Demaryius
Keenan
Thomas
Allen-
was better than Antonio Brown.
Whoa.
What? No.
He just got undershadowed.
Whoa.
Yeah, a little bit. There were some seasons where Demaryius Thomas was like criminally underrated.
Is Kevin
But-
Walter a Hall of Famer? Jeff?
I don't know.
Eric
Who?
Decker a Hall of Famer?
I'll be real. I don't know who.
Eric
half of these
Decker.
people are.
Eric Decker was underrated.
Eric Decker is a Hall
How do you
of
not know who
Famer
Eric
in my
Decker?
heart.
Yeah.
Eric Decker was.
Eric Decker's a dog.
Eric Decker also beat the Patriots in overtime in the 2015 season, so like A+ for him for that. But I don't know. There's a lot of guys. You could argue
I
it
do
both
get
ways.
that argument is so subjective, but I do want to circle back. You said the greatest left tackle of all time is playing right now. You would say that's Trent Williams? I'm assuming is who you're going for. Okay. Why him over Anthony Munoz or Joe Thomas?
Oh,
Joe Thomas would be the one over Anthony Munoz.
No. Hold on. Just like Munoz played at the top of that position for like what, 10 years was his career or something like that? He was
This is Trent Williams'
Okay.
This is Trent
wait a
Williams'
minute.
eighth
Walter
year as the
Jones?
best left
What?
tackle in the
There
sport.
were times in Trent Williams' career where he was not the best left tackle in the league.
Walter
There are
Jones
times
was
in
better.
Anthony
No,
Munoz's
there is
career where
not.
Orlando
From
Pace-
the day he
There-
stepped
there-
on the field, he was the best.
Orlando Pace also existed in that era. So if you
He's
want to play
not.
that argument,
Orlando Pace is not better than Anthony Munoz.
Walter
Why?
Jones is better than both of them.
Who?
Walter Jones.
No.
Yes,
God.
it needs
Oh
to be
my
said.
God.
Jack, who is Walter Jones?
Oh gosh. The Jack.
I don't know,
The
and I
Jack
don't
witch hunt
care.
begins.
Just
No,
me taking
nor
out
do
my
I care, Jack.
frustration.
He's not. I'm
Hey,
not listening to
we
your
got a
dumbass
little-
takes
We got a
anymore.
little off track here.
We did?
Just a little bit.
Oh,
Just a little bit.
Jets Eagles. The Eagles go down to the Jets, and this was not
The Jets
because of
beat the
injury. It was
Eagles.
because Jalen Hurts played the worst game of his career.
The Jets beat the Eagles for the first time in franchise history, by the way.
That's crazy.
Yes,
to
they
me.
did.
the difference between the 2023 Lions and the 2023 Eagles is the 2023 Lions have an MVP candidate.
Jared Goff. Honestly, he could be
All I'm saying.
MVP.
All I'm saying.
Jared Goff's in the MVP
You had-
conversation, I think, right?
If you had to pick it right, if you had to pick it
2018
right
all
now
over
as the
again.
top guys for MVP, if you had
Yep.
MVP right now, it's Jared Goff or it's Brock Purdy.
Tua is MVP.
Whoa, 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 whoa,
Oh, yeah.
whoa, 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 whoa,
Yeah,
whoa, whoa,
yeah,
whoa,
yeah,
whoa,
I forgot about Tua.
Thought a
It's one of the
bust
three.
a blood vessel
One of the
or
three.
something.
It's
Yeah, it's one of the three, honestly.
Yeah.
It's 2-1.
Well, honestly,
Yeah, probably.
I'm a big fan of the non-QB MVP race. I think CMC would maybe be up there for me, but
You're right, Fred Warner. You're right. Fred Warner deserves a shot.
well, honestly,
Tyreek.
okay, you jest, but I would be so down with that. If Fred Warner got an MVP vote, I'd be so down with that.
It would never happen because if
That's the best
JJ didn't
linebacker
win
in the
MVP
league.
in
If Justin Jefferson didn't get didn't get MVP
that's
votes,
not the JJ I am talking about here
Never mind.
at all.
Oh, he's too young. He's talking about JJ Watt.
At all.
Oh yeah. I completely forgot about Jefferson. I completely forgot about Watt.
Oh no.
Wasn't he runner-up?
Yeah,
Tyler?
it was.
Runner
Yeah.
up. But
Unfortunately.
it was
2014, right?
Who was it? Yeah,
that
it was 14,
Cam
right?
winning
So
it?
that was no
Rodgers.
14.
No, it
won.
would have been Cam.
14 would have been
That would've
Brady.
been-
Right?
Rogers.
Brady. Oh yeah, right. Maybe
Yeah,
Rodgers.
Rodgers.
Oh yeah, Rodgers.
Rodgers should win MVP
Yeah,
this
it was
year.
Rodgers.
He did not throw an intercept. Rodgers did not throw an interception this entire season.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's honestly remarkable.
But here, look at this. Look at this MVP voting. This is so much better than what it is now. It was Aaron Rodgers, J.J. Watt, DeMarco Murray, Tony Romo, Tom Brady, Bobby Wagner. That's three non-quarterback
24
players.
Okay, I would very much argue our sport has gone a lot better direction if DeMarco Murray was getting
Hey,
MVP.
no, DeMarco Murray.
DeMarco Murray was
DeMarco
great.
Murray scored
He was
three.
great.
So good.
He scored
Hold on.
13 touchdowns that year.
Until he went to Philadelphia, then he averaged
really
half a
should have
yard per
given.
carry. But whatever.
Oh wow! Almost like running backs don't matter. Crazy. He leaves the situation.
That's
and is
wild.
certainly
That
not
is
as good.
so.
They don't.
Wait,
Jeff,
don't
we've been over this. They
yes,
don't.
Crazy.
They matter. They mattered
like
15 years
with
ago.
Everyone.
This was not 15 years ago.
2014 was 8 seasons ago.
Hold on. Do you think running backs don't matter like ever, or like just now they don't?
They never have. And
they haven't in the past like 20 some odd years. No.
So this is factually incorrect.
If you want to go pre-2000 sort of football, you can make the argument that they did. But ever since
Sean Alexander single-handedly carried the Seahawks to the Super Bowl.
The moment teams stopped running the ball more than they threw it is when running backs stopped mattering.
In layman's terms, yes.
If you really want to boil it down. So like those Dolphins teams with Marino, right, where they would throw the ball like 50 times a game. I don't think who the running back for that team mattered, who it was.
Well, yeah, but I think to say that
if you truly want to make this argument, okay, let's put it like this. Who's the greatest running back of all time?
Barry Sanders.
I promise I'm going
Adrian Peterson.
Barry Sanders.
Adrian Peterson.
Okay.
I think
Notice how none of you said Emmitt Smith.
Barry Sanders did the most.
Adrian Peterson.
Adrian
Peterson, LT, and Sean Alexander are the top.
What are you smoking?
Notice
nothing.
Notice how none of you said Emmitt Smith. It's by Emmitt Smith holding all the records.
He's up there.
There's always been that,
but he's not better than LT or Adrian Peterson.
Walter Payton's up there.
There has always been the conversation of how much do running backs always matter. We just weren't ever able to sort of conceptualize it until relatively recently. Because no one's arguing that Emmitt Smith's the greatest running back of all time.
To say that they don't matter like completely is kind of a stretch because you have to go back like a few years, but like some of these teams that like made the Super Bowl were solely because they had one like really good running back.
That is not
like
true.
Look at the Chargers. Yes, it is.
Time out. No,
look at the Chargers. Look at the Chargers in 2006. The Super Bowl AFC Championship game, whatever. The Chargers when they went to the AFC title game, LT had like 50 touchdowns that year.
Okay,
he single-handedly carried these teams.
In what year?
2006. Right. So even running backs can catch too. They're not just running the ball.
So of the past 15 Super Bowl champions, only one of them has paid their leading rusher in the Super Bowl more than $5 million, and that leading rusher was a wide receiver.
LeGarrette Blount. 19 touchdowns.
Garrett Blunt's not a wide receiver.
I know. But 19 touchdowns, and then they replaced him the next year with Rex Burkhead.
There has only been one team in the past decade and a half that has won the Super Bowl paying a running back a lot of money.
Oh.
That team didn't use their running back in the Super Bowl.
Oh, I know who it is. Los Angeles.
Yeah.
It's the Marshawn Lynch.
It's not Gurley?
No,
Gurley was not making that much at the. No, when they won the Super Bowl, his cap hit was like $3 million. His contract didn't kick in until the next year.
I thought it was Gurley.
No, they never won the Super Bowl.
Or wait, hold up. Okay, they made this.
Oh.
Yeah,
in 18.
Gurley wasn't on the.
Gurley was on the Falcons at that point.
Yeah, Gurley wasn't on the roster when they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Well, I mean.
I thought you meant like 2018.
Sony Michel. No, he did mean 2018.
That's my point.
He did mean 2018.
Yeah. Well, that was the year the
Patriots wait. So what was the answer? What was the answer?
Marshawn Lynch.
Marshawn Lynch was not the lead, and Marshawn Lynch was not the leading rusher in the Super Bowl.
I would say that Marshawn Lynch was a huge part of why they got to the Super Bowl, though.
Percy Harvin was the leading rusher.
Oh, okay, because he got like one end around for like 50 yards. That Denver defense was as good as 4-year-olds. No, I get the point. He's so delayed.
Marshawn Lynch didn't have that many rushing yards to the Super Bowl because they beat him 72-0 or something like that.
It was really bad.
That game was 10-0. Yeah, that game was 10-0 before the Broncos took their second snap.
If they played that game in Dallas, Peyton would have won. But like again, nobody likes to hear that out. So I'll myself.
Hold up, time out. You said that Peyton Manning was the greatest quarterback of all time, like 15.
Well, he is for me. It's a
But he
personal
can't play in the
preference at this
cold?
point.
Okay, it's not a personal preference to a certain
Here's the thing.
when you get to a certain level, it's personal preference. But Peyton Manning is not anywhere near Brady.
Yeah,
Oh,
that 2 weeks before
Not even
that.
close. I'll take Peyton Manning's 53-yard pass to Wayne over Tom Brady's 3.4 air yards per
gosh.
attempt.
Oh my god!
As if Tom
55.
Brady's never thrown a deep ball in his life.
Well, in the Super Bowl, he probably hasn't. But again, nobody likes to. They say the 7 rings, and oh my
Yes,
God,
he
praise
has.
Brady. Also, praise Brady for throwing for like 140 yards in his first Super Bowl win. And by the way, he also gets MVP when the kicker literally won the game for them. So that's insane.
No kickers
Never
ever
forget
winning
when
Super Bowl
Tom.
MVP.
Never forget when Tom Brady was 3 inches away from firing a 68-yard pass to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Okay, he also had the perfect offense.
That only happened like 5 years ago.
Oh yeah.
Tom Brady also had what people say the best team in history and led their best offense in history and led their team to 7 points through 3 quarters. So, I mean, there's that too.
I mean, yeah.
Most overrated player in
Giants
sports
defense-
history.
In hindsight, that Giants defense is looked at as one of the best defenses we've seen.
It is, but not really. But I mean, you look at it.
Timeout. Who said that offense, purely at offense, was better than the '99 Rams?
07?
Some jackass in my dorm. He said here's a direct quote from that same guy, and this is a little bit off topic, but he said Tua is playing the best out of everyone in the NFL, but he's still not the best quarterback right now.
That's a fair
That was a
point.
legitimate
That's a
quote.
legitimate
Well, no, he didn't mean it like all time. He meant like in the league right now.
No, that's
he
still
was
a fair
saying
point.
how? That doesn't make any sense. You can't be playing the best out of
Games don't
everybody.
determine
Tua is
talent?
a system quarterback.
Oh,
He's not.
system quarterback. Let's go back to Brady if you want to talk about a system quarterback. 'Cause I'm all here for that.
Oh my god!
I knew that one.
By the way, also,
I knew that would get a rise.
to further enhance this point, the Patriots went 11-5 with Matt Castle as quarterback when Tom Brady got hurt. So to say it was
good
Brady's
teams win
doing,
games. What a surprise!
this is exactly my point. Thank you. Tom Brady was.
You must really think Jimmy Garoppolo was amazing then, by that logic.
I think Jimmy Garoppolo threw the ball downfield more.
Jimmy
than Tom
Garoppolo
Brady.
went
No, he
down
doesn't.
and took the Niners a whole calendar year to lose.
Whenever Jimmy Garoppolo throws the ball downfield, it ends up in the other team's hands.
Hey, Jimmy Garoppolo will overthrow your favorite wide receiver in the biggest game of the season, but hey, at least he threw it. Tom Brady would have took the sack or threw a
Wait,
touchdown.
time out.
he
You guys
wouldn't
know who? Do you guys hold up? Do you guys know who else overthrew their number 1 receiver in the biggest game of the season?
Who?
Justin Herbert.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, fuck Justin Herbert. Tua is way better than him.
No, I can.
Social media quarterback.
Yeah.
Honestly, I see it a little bit. That interception that he threw to end the game was so
That was
bad.
bad.
It was so bad.
That was bad.
The only reason that people like Justin Herbert is a game that he put up 180 total yards in college.
Well, and
That's the
people
only
like
reason.
to say
He's a good
People like
quarterback,
to
but he's not
say-
better than Tua or Burrow.
No, he's
he's
not.
also a dink and dunk master. But
Whoa, Joe,
people like to say
what?
about Herbert, he is. Watch the tape on that. Watch the tape on that.
Justin
Watch the tape on
Herbert
that.
throws the ball downfield more
Justin
like
Herbert
any quarterback
is
in the league.
perhaps the exact
Oh my
opposite of a dink and dunk quarterback.
So people like to say about
dink and
Herbert.
dunk quarterback, maybe he'd be good.
Yeah.
You know who else wore blue and was a dink and dunk
Oh,
quarterback?
God.
No, but people like to say about Justin Herbert is that if you gave him like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, he'd do like so much better.
PJ Walker would be
He
good with
literally
those
has
teams.
2 deep route wide receivers in Mike Williams and
Mike
Keenan
Williams is
Allen.
out for the year.
And
Mike Williams doesn't
over
can't
the year,
walk
over the
right
year,
now,
over the
but-
years, over the years,
Mike
over the
Williams
years.
and Keenan Allen are
Mike
nowhere
Williams
near
has never-
Jalen Waddle and
Since when has
Tyreek
Mike
Hill.
Williams played 16 games in a season?
Never. He never
Well,
has.
it doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is he has them, and they're deep threat wide receivers, and Justin Herbert still doesn't do anything with it. Hey, but he'll choke like a 30-point playoff lead at halftime.
No,
But yeah,
Justin
that
Herbert
looked
is
ugly.
easily 3 out of Burrow, Tua, and him. He's easily the 3rd best.
Yeah.
And it's impressive.
Not a debatable point.
No, it's not.
I think people are still realizing. Just realizing.
Some people
Herbert's
don't
a-
get it.
Justin Herbert is Tom Brady if you only dealt in hypothetical situations.
He's also Tom Brady because he dinks and dunks like a little.
Johnny Manziel is Tom Brady if you only dealt in hypothetical situations.
And if he doesn't beat his girlfriend, but that's another story too. Maybe that. I don't know.
What?
Wouldn't be the
on the board is now liable. Is now on the hook for libel.
Yeah, we can't.
So that's great.
That's all right. I'll take the pinch. That's all right.
I'm sending you the bill.
I'll take the pinch.
Jeff's gonna go on TV one day and just take the network off.
You wait for like 15 years or 10 years or whatever. When I get the first chance to slander Tom Brady on national television, I'm taking it.
With just no evidence at all.
The what? That he's... Oh, you don't want to start that. Evidence? Of him what?
I do. That he's not a dink-and-dunk quarterback.
Oh, okay, here we go. How is 3.4 air yards in Super Bowl 55?
One game? You're cherry-picking one game.
One game? Go watch his final drive. Here, I'm going to... Is there like a chat I could put like a link in or something?
Yeah.
No, there probably isn't.
No, there
is.
There is? Decidedly so, there is.
Oh, okay, hold on. I'm going to get the video. No, but if you look at like... his first Super Bowl win, like, that's unbelievable.
When he was what, like 21, fresh off the bench, like.
Okay, Donovan McNabb was hung over in like Super Bowl 39 and still played better. That's true, by the way.
Here's what I'm thinking, right? What do you want him to do? If
Tom
someone's
Brady,
open 5 yards down the field, do you want him to just chuck it anyway?
No, I want him to play football instead of throw these short 19, 22-yard pass plays. Throw the ball down the field like a man. That's what it means. Like some of these other quarterbacks do.
That doesn't make any sense.
I'm trying to look up these numbers right now. Would you believe me if I said that Tom Brady had the highest average depth of target of any quarterback?
I would believe you. I would believe you.
I wouldn't have believed that, but apparently it's true.
I would believe you. That is empirical evidence, Jeff. That is evidence.
Nuts.
You cannot refute that.
What's that?
It doesn't go back previous than that. Tom Brady led the NFL in average depth of target in 2020.
In 2020?
As old
so
man
did
Brady.
Jameis.
That's old man Brady. No. That's noodle arm Brady. That is noodle arm Brady.
He's not going to like this. He's not going to like this. He is not going to like this here. Jameis Winston took that same offense and had 30 touchdowns and led the league in passing yards. So
he
again,
had 30
system
picks.
Offense. Exactly, which is my point. The Buccaneers needed a quarterback who wouldn't turn the ball over 30 times to be a competent
Most of Jameis
offense.
Winston's picks were like within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage.
Which is exactly why they needed Brady, because he's not going to make that dumb throw.
There is no team in the league where if you take Brady and put them in the place of the other quarterback, they don't get better.
What do you mean?
At that time?
Well, what Brady? That time?
In what? When he left the Patriots? I think there's maybe 4 teams where they wouldn't have swapped out their QB for Brady.
Say what you want about Tom Brady and how great he was throughout his career. There's in no way, shape, or form he was the best quarterback in 2019.
What?
Of what?
Most talented that they would take him over that spot? No.
I think the only
teams
that would keep their quarterback over Brady in 2019 were the Packers, the Chiefs, the Ravens, and probably the Texans.
Anybody else?
That's because they had Watson was like on the up. Anybody else?
Right there.
Anybody else easily takes Brady.
There's a reason that Tom Brady didn't get to go to the team that he wanted to go to.
Which was?
Granted, that reason was also really stupid. The Niners. It's not like every team in the league wanted him, and there was a reason behind that. And I don't.
Feels like they should have wanted him.
That.
Feels like they should.
Yeah, they don't want that thinking junk.
I don't disagree with that whatsoever.
It's just a cancer in the offense, man.
I don't disagree with that whatsoever. If you're sitting here and saying that, there's only so many. Every team in the league would have taken Tom Brady over their current guy. Tom Brady had like 3 suitors in free agency. Wasn't that many.
He's also not talented. He was picked in like the 6th round for a reason.
This is the most insane argument I've ever
heard. Just straight up. What is talented about him?
Jeff, who's the leading receiver in the NFL?
Right now,
Yes.
Tyreek.
isn't Tyreek Hill?
Yeah, it's
What
Tyreek.
round was he picked in?
That's a different story. Quarterback's a different position. And that proves nothing because Tyreek Hill is actually skilled. Tom Brady was not skilled.
Is Tyreek Hill's whole game not just running past people?
Well, it's different. He actually runs routes and he runs deep routes
my
too.
God.
He'll run deep. He doesn't run short routes like Michael Thomas used to. But here's another
This
thing.
is the most delusional
and that-
thing I've ever heard.
It's not because you just don't want. Some people are afraid to hear the truth, which is okay. But with Tom Brady in 2001, he literally got hurt in the AFC Championship game, and they still won the game. So if he was so skilled, then they would have lost, right? I mean,
What?
I don't get it.
Jeff's argument just tried to prove that Jay Cutler is a top 5 quarterback of all time, by the way.
I'd rather if you put Jay Cutler on
no.
those Patriots teams, they would win over Tom Brady. It would make a little bit difference come postseason time. Even though Brady's a very bad postseason performer.
What?
He is. Look it up. Look at the Super Bowl.
Hey, Jeff,
stats.
who's
They're
better,
not
Tom
that
Brady or
good.
Brock Purdy?
Tom Brady is.
Brock Purdy
Purdy's
got-
a system QB.
Well,
They're
okay, so
kind of
why,
the same
is that
thing.
because
Wait, time out,
is that because Tom Brady got drafted before Brock Purdy?
Time out. Brock Purdy got hurt in the NFC Championship game. His backup came in and they lost.
Right.
They were losing when he got hurt, by the way.
If Tom Brady's not good because he got hurt and the backup came in and they won, what does that say about Brock Purdy?
Well, that's not. My point is that with the Brady thing, that's just
What is
one
your
of many examples. You want to hear my point? All right, here. Let me try to explain it in a less statistical way. Tom Brady
You're basing
is
this
the
off
most.
zero stats, by the way.
Tom Brady 3.4 air yards. There's a stat for you. Tom
Longest
Brady
depth of target.
is
There's a stat for you.
Tom Brady is the most overrated player in sports history based on the fact that he gets so
Justin
much
Herbert
credit for
exists.
stuff that he didn't do.
What?
He gets too much credit for team success. Football's a team sport, not just Brady. And Brady didn't do anything to help them
Brady
win those
excelled
games.
at
He
his
did
role on the
something.
team greater than anybody else in the history of the game, besides Anthony Munoz.
And then the officials?
Yeah.
What?
No, but you look at what they like.
To be
what
fair,
they
no,
obviously.
There is one Super Bowl I agree with you on, Jeff, on this whole
one?
argument. The Falcons won.
No, yeah.
Oh yeah, he played like garbage for 3 quarters and then turned it up in the fourth.
That's not even my point. My point is with the Falcons won is there's nothing Tom Brady did is the reason they won that game.
Right.
That's the
I mean,
only
and-
one of the 7 I will agree
Right,
with.
but there's also 6
Yeah, but the
other
first
ones.
one. Whoa. The first one is my issues with him with the Super Bowl wins are the first one. And again, it's hard because he's played well in games.
We're
like
gonna just
38.
go here and throw an asterisk on every single Super Bowl win in history.
But it's difficult
My
because
favorite Tom Brady stat. He played in 11 Super Bowls. 10 of them were decided by 1 score. If you want to play this game, we can flip the ones.
Super Bowls are often close.
That's
not the Broncos
if you want to
Seahawks.
play this game, you can flip 10 out of the 11 that he played in. Again, we're just dealing with hypothetical scenarios at that point. Though.
Well, and when you're looking at when you're looking at like the games that he's played, like how many Super Bowls he's played in? 11.
Yeah,
11.
The ones he's won 7. The wins and 7. Like the first one, he threw for 140 yards. That's not really doing anything. The second one, and again, 2 of them. Hold on. 2 of them were decided by his kicker. His kicker literally won the game. Like, that's legit. Like, he won the game. Single-handedly won the game. If he misses the kick, they go to overtime. And they might lose. And then, also, hasn't gotten the Super Bowl MVP 2 times. I think Edelman and then Deion Branch was the other one. And then when you look at the Seattle Super Bowl, because he took a break from winning for a while, almost 10 years, I think. You look at the Seattle one, he played horrible for like 3 quarters of football again. And he just turns it up in the 4th quarter, and they would have never won that game if Seattle didn't throw the ball. So he's benefited from so many like other teams' mistakes, missed calls, like missed calls are more for like the playoff games, not the Super Bowl.
What is Peyton Manning in 2015 if not the epitome of playing terribly and getting bailed out by your defense?
Well, he was hurt. That's a different story. What? It's true. He was hurt.
Okay, Peyton Manning.
He missed.
Okay. All right. Super Bowl 41.
Here we
I
go.
think it was, yeah. Colts Bears.
Oh.
Yeah. I think
In a
that's
monsoon, but okay.
Yeah, okay, I don't care. Peyton Manning.
Oh, well, you should, because that severely impacts the outcome of the game. And you would be
240
oblivious
yards,
to the
touchdown, and a
reality.
pick.
In a
Didn't do
monsoon.
anything.
In a monsoon.
I long have said that Joseph Adai should be Super Bowl MVP.
Well,
It
he
might have been
also,
James, I don't remember, but
Yeah, I don't know what... this was in 2007. I was 2.
they played in a monsoon. That doesn't count. I mean, you could dog on Peyton Manning's stats all you want.
Peyton
but if
Manning
you have
also
to
had
be-
Reggie. Peyton also had Reggie Wayne, Anthony Gonzalez, and no other receivers in that game. So
Reggie
Yeah,
Wayne
and
also
Aaron
ran the
James.
wrong.
Edgerrin
Reggie
James
Wayne
is not a
also
receiver.
Oh, but very good, nonetheless.
Reggie Wayne also ran the wrong route in the Super Bowl against the Saints, which led to him being a pick six.
Oh, yeah, they lost that too. Let's pull up that one.
And also, the Saints cheated by kicking an onside kick at the start of the
That's
third
not
quarter.
cheating.
Like, come on, let's
How
play
is
an
that
honest
cheating?
game here. I mean,
How was doing an onside kick cheating, Jeff?
it's not. I'm just salty because Peyton should have 4 rings instead of 2. But no, but you
He
can't.
shouldn't have lost the Super Bowl by 35.
Well, that's not his fault. If they played in Dallas, they would have won.
You know, I'd say...
And
my
who the hell
God.
plays a Super Bowl in 20-degree weather?
I'd
What are we
say
doing
I'd
here?
say 330 yards for a touchdown and a pick is the most between the 20s merchant play I have ever seen in my life.
Which game was that?
Saints Bowl.
What was the stat again?
333 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. That's the most between the 20s merchant stat line I've ever seen.
Well, yeah, and it's Reggie Wayne's fault because he ran the wrong route,
That's one play.
which ended up being the play of the game. Okay, Jack, if you go off on that, then what about the Seattle game? One play doesn't matter? Yeah, it does. They threw a pick at the goal line. Same thing happened, but worse. The Saints scored. And also, I would like to point out on dink and dunking, Drew Brees dinked and dunked that entire game. 32 completions for 288 yards.
He's cooking here. He's cooking
insane.
here.
Absolutely
He's 100%
insane.
cooking
I'll
here.
admit.
Drew
I
Brees is a
thought-
dink and dunk merchant.
I thought he was about to say his whole career. Drew Brees is not a dink and dunk merchant over his career, but this
And the
game,
Super Bowl
the
he
stats
was.
are damning.
That's wild. 32
Brees-
completions.
It's good
That's
because now he can go back to his favorite pastime, suing his own mother for her political beliefs.
What?
He really did that? That's as bad as
Or
that might be slander. We gotta cut that out.
We can go back to his other pastime of being the public face of a pyramid scheme.
And also,
That's not Purdue.
anyways,
That's
if
not
anyone
Purdue
is any-
education for you.
Anyone has any
next
Drew
part out.
Brees praise, we are. And back.
He's cutting out again.
Go.
Yeah. Okay. We can talk about one more game here because we're at an hour 30 already. Well,
Which one do
hour
you wanna talk
15. Hour 15. But let's
Thanks,
see.
Zach.
Let's touch on Giants Bills here for a sec because this is sort of the same argument that we just made about the Chiefs, about a contending team playing down to their opponent. Like scoring 14 points against the Giants is pathetic.
Brian Dabble is just fat Matt Nagy.
Brian Dable is a fraud.
Yeah, but
Brian Dable should have been fired after that game. What it's worth.
not scoring at the end of the
Yeah, we've
half
seen-
killed them.
That was brutal.
We have seen enough Brian Dable at this point to know he is a bad NFL head coach.
Tyrod Taylor might be my favorite.
Should not be
quarterback
up for
in the
debate.
league that's not named Joe Burrow.
Remember when Tyrod
I
Taylor
like Josh Johnson.
Remember when Tyrod Taylor got stabbed in the lung by his own trainer?
I do. That directly led to Justin Herbert starting.
Tyrod Taylor's gotten screwed out of so many starting jobs
I know.
year after year.
Didn't he start a playoff game too?
He did, yeah.
He did, yeah.
Well, starting a playoff game, if you look at history, is not that impressive. Connor Cook did it.
Yeah, and Kerry Collins went to the Super Bowl.
AJ McCarron started a playoff football game.
Yes, he
for the
did.
Cincinnati
He threw a
Bengals.
touchdown pass to AJ Green.
Indeed, he did.
And then Vontaze Burfict happened.
No, that's not even Vontez's fault. It was Adam Jones' fault because Adam Jones punched the referee.
Yeah, taking somebody's head off isn't your fault.
No, but they would have been out of field goal range, and then Adam Jones pushed the referee.
He
out.
punched the
Gave him
referee.
another
Holy
15.
crap!
Dude,
Well, yeah, but
you want to talk about a
they
menace?
also,
Adam
had
Jones.
like 45.
Yeah, he was.
Adam Jones and Vontez Perfect on the same team. That's prison ball.
Also, that same year, I went to the Broncos-Colts game, and Von Miller, Aqib Talib, tried to poke a Colts player in the eye, which lost them the game.
Bobby Boucher.
Wasn't that the
style.
game that was that when he got his chain snagged by Michael
No,
Crabtree?
That was the year after
Against the
that.
Colts.
That was the year after that.
Yeah.
That's still so.
Remember
funny.
that happening?
Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
That's like one of my more formative memories watching football.
Michael
The
Crabtree,
chain
one of the
snapping?
greatest college football players of all time, by the way.
Yeah, sure.
He was underrated.
Yeah.
Never forget the fake Texas Tech.
Yeah,
Texas Tech got some alumni.
That fake punt or fake field goal. Michael Crabtree is just chilling on the sideline and they throw it to him. It would have been like 2006, I think.
Yeah,
The greatest college football plays of all time.
Never seen that. I don't think.
The greatest plays of all time. Love Michael Crabtree.
Yeah, Richard Sherman owns him though.
Richard Sherman was overrated.
Whoa.
Whoa.
I never really liked him.
Yeah.
I think he was good. But I didn't like him because of he talked too much. I liked a guy like
Back it
Aqib
up.
Talib. He would keep his mouth
he
shut
did
and
back it
helmet
up.
on the field. Like Aqib
Didn't
Talib,
Aqib
like
Talib
I can't
shoot a
think
guy?
of. I probably did.
No, it was his brother.
Oh yeah, you're right. At a youth football game. I'm remembering this now.
Yeah, yes. That wasn't
Aqib Talib also gave the Panthers a 15-yard penalty, or Denver a 15-yard penalty, because he took his helmet off and started jawing at Jericho Cotchery, which is, if you have to jaw at Jericho Cotchery, non-Jets Jericho Cotchery, it's time to hang it up.
Entering Jericho Cotchery here.
Oh yeah, we can go deep in the bag.
Cotchery
with
dude
wide
didn't catch a
receivers.
stray.
He was pretty good.
Tell
I
me is
like
that Lavarius
Cotchery.
Coles was an awful.
I don't know. Aqib
And-
Talib, Patriots legend.
Also-
Aqib Talib.
Denver legend
Jeff-
Aqib Talib.
What? We can't hear you.
What did
How
he
much
say?
do. Or Brian Hartline.
Oh, I like Brian Hartline.
Jalen Ramsey and Aqib Talib played on the same football team for a little bit. Got
Okay,
50.
cut this next part. But I think the
Who was that?
I genuinely think
Richie Incognito.
something like-
absolute menace.
Yeah,
uh,
bullying incident happened, but he didn't commit suicide.
I want to see.
Oh, he
I
did?
want to
Yeah,
see.
there was something
I
there.
want
That
to
was
see a
weird.
Richie Incognito Vontez Perfect 1-on-1.
there were a lot. Yeah, that would be. There were a lot of guys who were like messed up, like mentally.
Oh, there
in the
still
NFL.
are.
Yeah,
There was a point that Richie Incognito and Antonio Brown were on the team, I think.
that's
Oh,
crazy.
yeah, they were on that Oakland team together
Or Oakley.
preseason before Brown got cut.
Also,
There was a third problematic guy on that team too. I don't
Vontez
remember who it
Perfect was also
before-
on.
oh yeah, he was.
Was he on the team?
Yeah.
Was he on that team?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Vontez Perfect was
Oh
on
my
that team.
god.
Thank you so much for listening to the On the Board podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and go Fins.